My experiences as a caregiver for my grandmother are very fraught with sadness, great sadness, and many, many moments of levity and hilarity and just laughter. My grandmother used to come to my father's office. My father was the late Larry Sims of 333 Construction. And my dad, before I started working with my father, would have his mom come to work with him every day. And that was his way of watching out for her. And he wasn't really dealing with the fact that she was having memory lapses. But when I started working with my father the last 10 years of his life, I was able to notice things and little mini things like eating. My grandmother would be eating and she would keep the food in her mouth. And I understood that that was called packing, where she would forget literally to chew. She would have a mouthful of food and she would just be sitting there comatose. And that was shocking for me. She would be right in the middle of talking sometimes and she would just stop. And she would get a vacant look in her eyes. And it took me a while to tune in, and I thought, is she tripping? What is she doing? But then I later realized, oh no, this is the issue. I remember one time I was cutting her toenails. My grandmother always had beautiful feet. I loved her feet. They were small and beautiful, always nice and moisturized. And as she stopped being able to care for her daily person, it was an honor for me to do my grandmother's feet. So I was clipping her toenails and giving her a pedicure, putting lotion. She loved Nivea lotion. I was putting lotion on her feet, and I was at her, in front of her, and I looked up at her, and she had a serious moment of lucidity and clarity, and she said, "Baby, don't ever get old." And the way she said it, I knew it was her. I knew she had a serious moment of 100% clarity, and she was telling me about how she was feeling for herself, but she was not a victim. She was not weeping. She was not sorrow-filled. My grandmother was a faith-filled woman, and she was a Church of God in Christ Christian. And I believe her faith really pulled her through, because my grandmother never once was pitiful or sorrow-filled, unlike me, who was a big crybaby, and I cried all the time. And I would also get frustrated. I'm human. The repetitive questions, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Where am I? Where am I? Where are we going? Where are we going? We're going to the store. Where are we going? Grandmother, we're going to the store. Where are we going? I told you we're going to the store. You know, after about 100 times, you get a little frustrated. And it took me a long time to develop patience. I believe now that my grandmother is responsible for me having locks. The locking process was a process of patience, great patience. And I had to learn patience when dealing with my grandmother, because as a human, I would get frustrated. And I'm embarrassed to say one time I just lost it, and I cussed at her. And I just really lost it. She cussed at me as well. We just lost it with each other. And I was so ashamed afterwards. I was so ashamed of myself, and I felt so guilty. And I was really worried that when she saw my father, she was going to tell. I was praying that at that moment she forgot about that situation. Thankfully she did, because my dad would have never forgiven me. And to this day I haven't forgiven myself. I know that she knows that I was having a human moment. I know that she has forgiven me for it. And we're human, and so we have to correct our errors. I did that one time and I never did it again.